The next topic in the course is the building blocks of Angular. And the first and foremost one is the components, right? So components are nothing but they define the view of your application, right? It defines the look and feel of your elements on the page. And how does a component look like? It comprises of a class, a template, and a metadata, right? So a class, we already know what is a class, right? And it contains a template. Templates are nothing but the HTMLs of your page, right? Your markup of your page resides in the template. Metadata defines the extra data that defines your components, right? You define your component with a class plus a template plus a metadata to it. Metadata tells how you should process the class on your screen, right? What is the template to it? What is the styling to it? What is the classes to it? So your metadata tells how you should process your class on your screen, right? And then comes modules. Modules are one or more components together, right? Grouping of components together, grouping of one or more components together forms a module, right? An application should have at least one module. It can have more than one module also. The one module which you have, the basic module which you have is the root module. Plus you can choose to have other feature modules also. It gives a more modularized form to your code which you are writing. Right? So you have to design your module to perform a single task. So they do not contain any HTML and all. It's just you'll describe what is the bootstrap component which you are using, what is the component which you are exporting, what is the component you are injecting, what is the component which you are importing. So these are all the things which you will mention in your module, right? It is helping us to manage your components by bringing a lot of modularity, right? You group things and then you mention in your module. Then comes dependency injection. The framework will inject the dependencies for us wherever required. You don't have to explicitly initialize and then do stuff. Your dependencies or your dependent objects are injected onto the application by the framework itself. Next is services, right? Services is nothing but it's again a class, right? A component is a class. Likewise, a service also is a class. It is like a function which is defined for a very specific purpose. For example, my user service is defined to integrate with a, say for example, a user API, right? Or my employee service to integrate with an employee API, to invoke my employee API. So it is designed to suit a specific purpose, right? And using services, you can share the data and the behavior across your application. You don't have to write the code to connect to a HTTP service in each and every component of yours. You can create a data service and you can use the data service common code to invoke many HTTP calls as an example, right? Next one is data binding. Data binding is you have your component and you have your HTML markup or your DOM, in fact. So how are you going to bind data? How is the data going to flow from the code of your component to your DOM? Whether it flows from your component to DOM or from DOM to component or in both the directions. When you click an event, how does your component get published? So all of this is taken care by data binding. So these are the basic building blocks of Angular.